Anytime we talk about development and we're bringing in new industry or we're bringing in some other kind of development, one of the sticking points is we have to have roads to it. We have to have transportation. And so transportation and rural development are tied so closely together that we need to discuss them at the same time. So with that, we're going to let Toks take over and explain what the Department of Transportation is doing. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to try my best this morning to shake off this misnomer that I somehow cannot be brief. Good luck to myself and good luck to the timekeeper as well. I'm going to try my best to ignore you when you hold the sign up. So good morning, East Tennessee. It is good to be home. I know some of you are wondering what in the world is he talking about. He just came in from Nashville. How can this be home? Weirdly enough, I was born here 40-something years ago. My parents are Nigerian, hence the interesting name that I have. They went to graduate school in the early 70s in Knoxville. They went to UT, and when I was a toddler, they decided to move back to Nigeria. So I spent the first 14, 15 years of my life living in western part of Nigeria. If you're familiar with where Nigeria is, West Africa. Oddly enough, Amy comes from a small town of how many people, Amy? 3,000. I live not too far from a city of 18 million people. So we couldn't be too different from one another as far as our backgrounds. So what I want to start off with this morning is commending you guys, commending East Tennessee for putting this together again. The communities that are successful from a development standpoint, from a business standpoint, do things like this all the time. They focus on efforts like this all the time. Nashville, where I live, is probably right now, I know you don't want to hear about Nashville, it's probably one of the hottest cities, not in temperature, but hottest cities as far as livability, quality of life, development, and business. One of the hottest cities in the country right now. And a lot of that is due to the fact that several years ago, 18, 20 years ago, they started to have leadership come in place that said, we need to address issues like this and pull the region together, the region, not Nashville together, the region together to focus on this. And that's why they're very, very successful today. The real estate market, the development market, businesses coming in, the quality of life, everything from building greenways, building great roads, having the right land use, all those things are happening in Nashville. And I know it's happening here in Knoxville as well. But it's going to take a more regionally focused effort to be even more successful as it relates to this issue. So what I'm going to try to cover today is what we've done as far as planning goes, transportation planning at TDOT over the last 5 years since I've been at TDOT. What we've done planning-wise, the challenges that we see today, what the problems are, and what TDOT is doing to address those right now and moving forward. So the backbone of every single community that you will enter that's very successful, that's economically vibrant, that has a good quality of life, is their transportation system. There's no doubt about it. You can argue with me, you will lose that argument, I promise you. It's absolutely essential to everything good or positive that happens in a community. It's having a good transportation network. And one of the very famous governors of this state said this quote many years ago. Who knows who said this quote? The words on the screen there. Oh, it's not even showing up. So I'm just talking away. Sorry about that. There we go. We're having some technical issues here this morning. This was the prior slide. I mentioned about the importance of having a good transportation system and how important it is as the backbone of any community. There we go. All right. So, anybody know this quote? It was magical before. It wasn't showing up. Who said this? Anybody know what governor said this? Governor of Tennessee. Alexander's close. He came right after him. Governor Ned McWhorter. He famously said this, and we use this quote very often now: schools plus roads equals jobs. I would say definitely the governor was right, but I like to adjust this a little bit and say great schools or great education plus a great transportation system equals jobs. There's this misnomer out there that if you build a road somewhere, that jobs are just going to automatically come. It just doesn't work that way. And we've done that work for many years at TDOT, and we've noticed that it's not about just building a road, it's about having several different pieces. And as I'm involved, in the task force with Amy and Ted and the rest of the leadership at ECD, this is one of the things that I'm going to continue to bring up, because I've already been hearing these comments in some of the meetings is, oh, you just need to build a road out there and all the jobs will just start coming in. It just doesn't work that way. There are several elements that are key. Education is absolutely important. And having a good transportation system is just as important. But I want to point out that picture to the left there, that was me actually this weekend. A lot of you in the room know where this is. This leaving Gatlinburg, headed out of town. My son had a soccer tournament in Gatlinburg. I didn't take that picture this weekend, but I feel like I was one of those people because I experienced that this weekend again. So having a vibrant community means doing some of the things that communities like Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg out this way have done. But you have to be mindful of how development occurs along a corridor, along a roadway, or you will end up having this happen every single week. There are many communities that are economically vibrant, major cities like Atlanta, for example. That's the one we all like to point to, where it's booming. They're growing. But the last thing you want to do is sit in traffic there. Everybody loves to avoid that. I'm one of the people that I dread going there. The people who live, anybody from out this way, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, so tell me if I'm wrong. Do you pick sometimes during the day when you're going to go shopping? You know, sometimes, this is what I heard. Some people go shopping at midnight because they don't want to deal with this. That's not what you want in your community. You want it to be economically vibrant, but you want to lay out a transportation system that allows both tourists and guests and the people who live there to be able to enjoy the transportation system that's there. The most important thing looking forward that I think we're going to have to be mindful of as a transportation agency and professionals in general is the fact that, one, we're going to have to be very multimodal minded. What that means is we're going to have to be mindful of transit. We're going to have to be mindful of people's ability to walk and bike in communities. We have to start putting in place policies and funding to make sure that happens moving forward. And at the bottom of the screen there to the right, I think we're going to have a new way to wave at people moving forward in the next few years. Instead of waving at people when you drive by like this or like this, we're going to be waving like this, because we're not going to need to put our hands on steering wheels anymore. It is not something that is a Jetsons related kind of pipe dream. It is around the corner, folks. This is about to happen. That's an Audi that's actually available for you to buy today that this guy's driving with both of his hands off the wheel. How that's going to impact the transportation system that we're developing is something, again, that we're going to have to continue to be mindful of. Our long-range plan. The governor just signed off on it in February of this year. It took us 2 years to put a long-range plan together for transportation for the state of Tennessee. If I could give you one word to remember about that transportation plan, it's the word double. Remember the word double. Whenever somebody says TDOT has a long-range transportation plan, what is it about? Double. Here's why I'm saying the word double. The population of the state of Tennessee by the year 2040, in 20 to 25 years, it's going to be 2 million more people. So we're not doubling, but I'm using the word, I'm stretching the word double there with the number 2. We're going to have 2 million more people in the state of Tennessee by the year 2040. If some of you are thinking that's impossible, that's not going to happen, if you look back to 1990, the population of the state of Tennessee was roughly 4.6 million people. 4.6 million people. In the year 2010, it's cut off from the screen there, but the year 2010, it was 6.35 million people. So almost 2 million people in 20 years. And we're projecting there, you see 8.5 million people by the year 2040. It's going to happen. 65 and over, I'm going to be in this category. By the year 2040, 1.6 million people in this state will be 65 and over. Some of you are looking like, I'm not sure if I'll even be around then. You may be. 2040, so that's a 90% growth, or almost double the number of people 65 and over. 2 million more jobs in the state of Tennessee as well. A couple of other things, if I can remember them correctly. The amount of freight in the state of Tennessee, there are 644 million tons of freight that move across Tennessee. That number is going to be 1.5 billion tons of freight moving across the state. If we don't address traffic issues like we should by getting additional funding in the state of, for the state of Tennessee, by the way, additional revenue for transportation in Tennessee hasn't happened since 1989. It was the last time additional revenue came for transportation, so 27 years ago. If we don't do anything, if we continue to stay as we are today, the amount of traffic we're projecting by the year 2040, 20 to 25 years, same thing, it will double the amount of traffic volume that you see today. I'm getting 5 minutes? Oh boy, it's gonna be a long day. So, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. This thing is not kind of coinciding here. Okay, here we go. So, land use and transportation are, again, absolutely key to the growth that we're going to be seeing. We have to put in place policies in both urban and rural communities throughout the state to make sure that you don't continue to have a hodgepodge of development occur. Development that occurs where everybody has a driveway cut and everybody has access to a roadway. You're going to continue to see congestion levels that we don't want to experience in our communities. So again, both in urban and rural areas, it's going to be important for us to make sure that we put in place policies like the one above to allow development like the one above. And many of you who are in the transportation planning sector or planning and environment sector have seen slides like this several times. You want to make sure that you have policies in place where streets become more connected. People have access to commercial areas like the areas in red more versus the one below it where more people are on cul-de-sacs. The 16 homes or 16 lots around that cul-de-sac, every single time they want to get to the commercial areas in red, they have to get on the main highway at the bottom versus being able to use an interconnected street network like the image above. That's the kind of policy, those are the kind of policies that we need to make sure we continue to put in place for the appropriate growth to be able to occur in communities. And my slides here are not following. They're not going accordingly here, but I'm going to try my best to get through it this way. So again, as development happens, the image on the left is the same as the image on the right, with the exception that the development, a grocery store, decided to move, and when it moved, it oriented its building to actually face the street, and they put in green planters and things like that, things that help the quality of life as development occurs. Again, making the right decisions throughout communities. Again, same thing here from a policy standpoint. the image on the left, if you want to get from the home that's, I don't have a pointer over here, but if you want to get from the home that's circled in the middle of the screen in that subdivision, if you want to get there to the school or to the mall, every single one of those trips on the image on the left, every one of those trips, you have to get on the main highway. Again, what happens is more congestion, more people on the roadway at the time, versus, again, having an interconnected street system like the image on the right, where if you are in that, again, in that subdivision with the house circled in the middle of the screen, if you're there and you want to get to the mall, you want to get to school, you want to get to your friends who live in an apartment complex, you have multiple options. You at no time have to get on the main on the main highway. A real life example of this, somewhere, and I think it's actually out this way. You can see there that this is a aerial view of a subdivision. And in the middle of the screen there, I think, is a school. So if you live out there, this is a real life example of this. If you want to get to that school, you have to get on the main highway, even if you're backing the school. The school is that white-looking circle that's in the middle of the screen there. If you want to get to that school and you live in a subdivision that's backing it every single trip, you have to get on the main highway and drive all the way around, not having an interconnected street network that can get you to that school to have the ability to walk or bike or do whatever, again, impacts the transportation network. Just another shot of something similar to this. School siting is very critical as communities continue to grow. The city of Spring Hill in Tennessee, at the bottom of the screen, you've got the high school in the middle of a field. In the blue box there, I think that's the middle elementary school. And you see subdivisions nearby, but all of them are kind of blocked off away from the school. And both schools are far away from the city, to the north of the far north end of the screen there. You see that's where the city of Spring Hill actually is. And see where the schools are located, far again away, where you can't walk. Every single parent will have to drive their child to school in this situation. Again, we have to put in place policies that prevent us from having to make such trips every single time. I'm going to skip over this. Studies continue to show, Q&A, yeah, right, okay. Give me a couple of minutes here. So studies continue to show that people will walk. If you make buildings, if you make land use close and connected enough, people will walk. I think that says 45%. It's not showing up on my screen here, so I'm just using what's up here. 45% will walk if it's a mile or less. 1% if it goes to 3 to 4 miles. Only 1% will walk to church or school. If I'm saying that correctly, I can't see all this, but I think I have some of this memorized. If you're going to work, 35 or 33% will walk a mile. If it's work again, if it's 3 to 4 mile. Again, 1%. So if we orient buildings, if we orient land use in the right way, people will use other opportunities to try to get to work. So quickly, what's TDOT doing about this? What are some of the things that we're doing to address this, to make sure we have the appropriate funding, the appropriate policies in place to make sure that development occurs in the right way? We've done something called a multimodal access policy. It's a policy that the commissioner signed late last year. It basically says every time we build a road, we're going to look at the potential users of that roadway, not just say, okay, only a car will be on this. Some of you, anybody familiar with Complete Streets? Complete Streets, again, this is pretty much what this is, a multimodal access policy. So commissioner signed it. We've got to go through a process to implement it. We're not there yet. A corridor management agreement, or something that we work with communities to identify corridors that are important to them, that are vital to them, that they want to make sure it grows the right way. From a land use standpoint, access standpoint, we will help them come up with an agreement and an MOU of some sorts that says, we're going to manage the growth of this highway better. So those are one of the things we're doing. Multimodal access grants. Anybody heard of this at TDOT? Multimodal access grant. $30 million Over 3 years, we're funding things like sidewalk improvements, bike lanes, transit stops, transit improvements, all along major state highways to, again, help communities be connected in the right way. And the last thing there, we're offering planning grants, community transportation planning grants for $1 million to communities as well. So I'm not going to talk through these slides because I'm supposed to be on Q&A right now, but I'll end with this one. So again, I'm on the Governor's Task Force for Rural Development with Amy. One of the things that I'm going to try to leave with that committee, with that task force as the work continues before it's submitted to the recommendations are submitted to the governor. I think it's vitally important that communities that do not have a comprehensive plan come up with a plan. It's absolutely essential. I think the best-selling book of all time, everybody knows what that book is, says where people don't have a vision, they what? They perish. You have to have a vision. You have to have a comprehensive outlook for your community. And here's what happens when you do that. And there are many communities, some of your communities may not even have this. If you have one, you engage community, you help to create a supported vision, you provide an inventory of infrastructure conditions, what you have, what you don't have, provides data-driven approach to reach communities' long-range goals. You can't just make decisions haphazardly. When you have a plan, you have data to support the decisions you're making, and it outlines implementation phases and potential resources to make those things happen. So I know I was long-winded there. I could have even been more long-winded. Sorry, I was ignoring your sons. But that's mainly it. Thank you very much.